Have you ever been called the bad guy just for saying no to making a birthday cake? That's exactly the predicament Emma found herself in one ordinary afternoon. Emma, 33, was standing at the school gates, waiting for her 4-year-old daughter, Lily, to finish her last activity of the day. The late afternoon sun cast a warm golden glow across the playground, and the air was filled with the chatter and laughter of children. Emma's mind, however, was only half on the playground. The other half was still preoccupied with emails, unfinished reports, and the long list of things waiting for her at home. She worked a demanding job with unpredictable hours, often staying late or being on call even after leaving the office. But today, all of that faded into the background as she spotted Lily skipping toward her, backpack bouncing on her tiny shoulders. Emma crouched down, smiling, and hugged her daughter tight. Lily giggled, a sound that melted Emma's stress instantly before they could leave the schoolyard. A familiar figure approached. Megan, a mother of one of Lily's classmates named Cara, stepped into view. Megan's posture was upright, and her smile seemed friendly. Yet there was a certain intensity in her gaze that immediately caught Emma's attention. "Hi, Emma. I'm Megan, Cara's mum," she said as she extended her hand. Her tone was warm, but there was an unmistakable determination in her voice. Emma shook her hand, returning a polite smile. "Hi, Megan. Nice to meet you properly." For a few moments, they exchanged pleasantries. Megan asked about Lily's day at school, complimented her on her artwork, and chatted lightly about the weather and the playground activities. Emma replied briefly, juggling her attention between Lily and the mother. Then, without warning, Megan's eyes shifted to Emma with an intensity that made her pause. "Emma," she began, her voice casual but firm, "I have to tell you. My daughter, Cara, has been talking non-stop about Lily's birthday party. She absolutely adored the cake you made. Honestly, it looked incredible." Emma felt a familiar warmth in her chest at the compliment. She had spent days preparing that cake, carefully balancing her full-time work with the intricate details needed for Lily's special day. The cake had been a labor of love, a Rapunzel-themed masterpiece with a towering spire, delicately piped flowers, and golden sugar strands for hair. Seeing her daughter's eyes light up had made every late night and every hand sore from icing worth it. Megan's next words, however, caught Emma off guard. "I was wondering, could you possibly make a cake like that for Cara? Her birthday is coming up soon, and I know it would make her so happy." Emma froze for a second, processing the request. Her mind raced. She thought of the hours she had already spent on Lily's cake, the baking, the decorating, the late nights adjusting, frosting, and building the tower. And now Megan wanted her to do it again for someone else's child. I'm afraid I can't, Megan," Emma replied carefully, keeping her voice calm but firm. "Making a cake like that takes a lot of time and effort. I'm really busy with work, and I've got a lot waiting for me at home." Megan tilted her head slightly, smiling as if trying to soften the refusal, but her eyes sparkled with hope. "Oh, come on, Emma. Cara would be over the moon. We can pay you, too. I know it would take some time, but it wouldn't be that much, would it?" Emma's throat tightened. It wasn't the money. It was never about money. It was about the hours, the sweat, the focus, and the love she had poured into every detail of the cake. It was about the small moments of joy she shared with Lily when they baked together. The giggles, the tiny hands brushing against frosting, and the pride in Lily's eyes when the cake was unveiled. "I really appreciate the offer, Megan," But it's not about money, Emma said, her voice gentle but resolute. I just can't commit to making a cake for Kara. I've already dedicated so much time to Lily's birthday this week, and I still have work waiting for me. Megan paused, her smile flickering for just a second before returning. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice in a conspiratorial tone. But Emma, you made time for Lily, right? Surely you could squeeze in a little extra for Kara. Just one cake. That's all. You'd make her birthday unforgettable. Emma took a slow breath, feeling the tension in her chest. Her mind raced, her heart beat faster. On one hand, she didn't want to seem rude or unkind. On the other hand, she knew her limits. She knew what she could realistically handle without burning out or neglecting her responsibilities. She also knew something else. Lily and Kara weren't exactly close. Lily had mentioned that Kara could be bossy sometimes, and Emma had no desire to reward that behavior by giving in to Megan's pressure. I understand that you really want to do this for Kara, Megan, and I'm sure it would make her happy, Emma said slowly, choosing her words carefully. But I can't. I hope you understand. Megan's eyes narrowed slightly, though her smile remained. I just think it would mean so much to Kara. She's been talking about that cake non-stop since Lily's party. Emma smiled faintly, masking the irritation rising in her chest. I really hope Kara enjoys her birthday, and maybe I can suggest some amazing bakeries that make custom cakes. I promise she'll get something just as special. Megan let out a soft sigh, a mixture of disappointment and insistence. I guess, but I still hope you'll think about it, Emma. Really, just one cake. You already know how to make it perfect. Emma gave a polite nod, gently pulling Lily's hand. I'm sorry, Megan. I really must go. Lily and I need to get home. She glanced down at her daughter, who was tugging impatiently, eager to leave the conversation behind and continue her adventures elsewhere. Megan's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't press further at that moment. Emma walked away, a mix of relief and lingering tension in her chest. She had defended her boundaries, but she knew the confrontation was far from over. Little did Emma know, this seemingly simple refusal would trigger a series of tense interactions, endless messages, and moments that would test her patience, her resolve, and her ability to protect her time, her effort, and her child's happiness over the next few days. Her phone buzzed constantly with texts from Megan, ranging from persistent requests to subtle manipulations to outright criticisms. Emma read each one carefully, resisting the urge to snap back in anger, reminding herself why she had said no and that her decision was justified. Megan, Emma, I still can't believe you won't do this for Kara. You're making her birthday less special. Megan, seriously, one cake. You made time for Lily, so why not Kara? Megan, you don't understand how important this is. Please, just think about it again. Emma blocked Megan's number after a particularly aggressive string of messages. But even then, she couldn't fully escape. Rumors began circulating among the other parents at school, and whispers reached her ears that Megan had been complaining about her. Emma's stomach tightened whenever she thought about it, but she reminded herself that she had made the right choice. Her time, energy, and love were for Lily, and that mattered most. Through it all, Emma found solace in quiet moments with her daughter, in the laughter, in the small achievements and stories that filled their days. She realized something important. Protecting her boundaries was not cruelty, but an act of self-respect and love for herself and for her child. Emma stood at the kitchen counter, sunlight streaming through the windows and dusting the flower-covered surface with a warm glow. Her hands were coated in a thin layer of white powder as she carefully mixed ingredients, her eyes flicking between the laptop screen showing step-by-step cake tutorials and the bowls in front of her. Although she had baked many cakes before, this one was different. It was for Lily's 4th birthday, and the little girl had been dreaming of a towering Rapunzel cake, complete with intricate towers, cascading golden hair, and delicate flowers that would bring the fairy tale to life. Emma meticulously arranged the ingredients: flour, sugar, butter, eggs, cream cheese, and a palette of vibrant food colors. Golden yellow for Rapunzel's hair, lavender and green for the flowers that would decorate the tower, soft pink for delicate accents. Measuring spoons, mixing bowls, piping bags, recipe notes, and color gels were scattered across the table, transforming the kitchen into a controlled chaos of creativity. She spent hours testing frosting textures, searching for the perfect balance between smoothness and firmness, ensuring the colors were vibrant yet edible. Each tower piece had to be measured precisely. The base needed to be stable, the spire delicate but sturdy. Every tiny flower, every miniature door, every swirl of icing had to be perfect. She adjusted, rechecked, and readjusted, determined to achieve the effect she had envisioned. But it wasn't just the cake. Emma wanted the entire celebration to be magical. She strung purple and gold balloons around the room, tied ribbons along the walls, and pinned handmade Rapunzel cutouts that she had carefully colored and cut herself. She arranged the furniture for the best view of the cake, spread the tablecloths just right, and positioned small gifts and candies to complement the theme. Every element, from color coordination to placement, mattered. As the hours passed, the kitchen filled with the sweet scent of baked goods, the warm light of the setting sun giving the room a soft glow. Emma paused occasionally, leaning against the counter, surveying the chaos and order she had created. The towering Rapunzel cake, the decorative details, the carefully arranged living room, all of it was for Lily. A small smile crept across her face. Tired but filled with quiet pride and anticipation, this cake and party were more than just decorations and confections. They were acts of love. Each meticulous detail reflected Emma's dedication and her desire to create a magical day for her daughter. This was the kind of memory that would stay with Lily forever, and Emma wanted every element to feel personal, unique, and unforgettable. Finally, the evening arrived. Emma gently lifted Lily onto a chair, slipping a shimmering lavender dress over her little shoulders. Delicate lace traced the edges, and soft ribbons flowed like miniature streams down her back. She took a small comb and twisted Lily's hair into soft ringlets, adjusting every strand until it framed her daughter's bright, excited eyes perfectly. Lily spun to look in the mirror, eyes sparkling, gasping with delight. "Mum, I look like a real princess," she squealed, jumping on the chair. Emma laughed, brushing a loose curl from her daughter's cheek. "Close your eyes, sweetie. I have a surprise for you." She covered Lily's eyes gently with her hands and took her small hand, leading her down the stairs. At the bottom, Emma let go. Lily's eyes fluttered open, and the little girl gasped. Before her stood the living room, transformed into a magical wonderland. Purple and gold balloons bobbed gently in the air, ribbons draped from corner to corner. The table perfectly arranged with candies, gifts, and party favors. And at the center of it all, the Rapunzel cake gleamed under the warm glow of the lights. The golden hair fell perfectly, the tower stood tall, and the flowers and tiny doors glimmered with delicate care. Oh wow. Mom, it's perfect, Lily cried, reaching out to touch the cake before spinning around to hug her mother tightly. Emma wrapped her arms around her daughter, feeling a surge of emotion. The exhaustion, the long hours, the meticulous attention to every tiny detail of it melted away in that hug. The laughter, the excitement, and the love radiating from Lily were worth every ounce of effort. The first guests arrived shortly after. One by one, Lily's friends and their parents came in, eyes wide, smiles broad. They brought gifts, cheered, and marveled at the cake. The room buzzed with chatter and laughter. Emma, this is incredible. Look at all these details. One parent said, leaning closer to admire the cake. Lily, you are one lucky little girl, another chimed in. Emma smiled, standing slightly to the side, watching her daughter's joy light up the room. Each squeal of delight, each excited whisper from Lily, reassured her that the weeks of work mixing, measuring, decorating, and planning had been worth it. The party was in full swing, a perfect combination of laughter, love, and celebration. Every detail she had poured herself into the cake, the decorations, the table, and the little magical touches had come together to create a birthday memory that Lily would treasure forever. As Emma glanced around, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This wasn't just a cake or a party. It was a moment that captured the love between a mother and her daughter, the culmination of effort, creativity, and devotion. The day had become a living storybook, with Rapunzel at the center, and Emma knew that this was a birthday Lily would remember for the rest of her life. The birthday party for little Lily was alive with the sounds of laughter, excited chatter, and the soft strains of cheerful music playing in the background. Emma moved among the small clusters of parents, exchanging pleasantries and thanking them for the thoughtful gifts. Her hands, though momentarily free of flour and frosting, still carried the sense of recent labor, a reminder of the hours she had spent, meticulously preparing every detail of the party. The room smelled sweetly of vanilla and sugar, the soft glow of fairy lights reflecting off pastel balloons and shimmering ribbons as she was handing a gift bag to a smiling mother. Megan, Kara's mum, entered the living room. Emma noticed her immediately. Megan's eyes scanned the room and instantly fixed on the towering Rapunzel cake at the center of the desert table. Her face lit up with a mixture of admiration and fascination, and she moved toward Emma with purposeful steps. "Hi, Emma. I'm Megan, Kara's mom," she said, extending her hand in a polite, friendly gesture. Her tone was cheerful, yet there was an undercurrent of insistence beneath her smile. Emma shook her hand, maintaining a gentle smile. "Hi, Megan, nice to meet you," she replied. Her tone was warm, but there was a subtle reserve, an internal barrier she had learned to maintain in social situations. Megan's gaze lingered on the cake, her breath catching slightly. "Oh my goodness, this cake is incredible. Did you order it from somewhere?" she asked, genuinely impressed. Emma felt her cheeks warm. "Oh no, I made it myself. Lily has always loved Rapunzel, so I wanted her birthday cake to be really special," she explained, trying to sound casual while carrying a quiet pride in her voice. Megan raised her eyebrows in surprise, her admiration obvious. "You made this yourself? Not from a bakery?" Emma shook her head again. "No, I baked every layer, mixed the batter, made the frosting, and decorated it." I used to take some classes at a small bakery when I was younger, but these days I mostly bake for fun. And for Lily, she smiled softly, trying to convey humility while still standing firm in her quiet accomplishment. Megan leaned closer, her eyes studying the cake with awe. This is amazing. Every detail. It's perfect. I'm sure Kara would be enchanted if she could have something like this for her birthday, she said, voice filled with longing. The conversation continued, with Megan asking about the frosting technique, the color choices, and how Emma had achieved such delicate details on the tiny flowers and tower windows. Emma responded patiently, walking Megan through her process step by step. She enjoyed sharing her love for baking, but she was careful not to invite any commitments or imply that she might take on more than she could manage. Megan listened with rapt attention, occasionally nodding and leaning forward, yet her eyes remained glued to the cake as though memorizing every detail. After a few quiet moments, Megan's voice softened slightly, carrying a tone of gentle persuasion. Emma, seeing this cake, I can't help but think how happy Kara would be. Her birthday is coming up next month. Do you think maybe you could make her a cake like this? Emma's stomach tightened. She had anticipated the question might come someday, but the timing now during Lily's own celebration felt intrusive. She took a slow, steadying breath, keeping her tone measured and polite. Megan, I really appreciate your kind words, and I'm so glad you like the cake. But I can't take on another cake right now. Making one like this takes hours, days of careful work, and I've already devoted nearly all my free time this week to preparing Lily's birthday party. There are other responsibilities waiting for me, and I simply cannot add more to my schedule, she said firmly, yet kindly. Megan's smile remained, but there was a subtle flicker of disappointment in her eyes. She tilted her head slightly, leaning in as if to coax Emma into reconsidering. But you did this for Lily, didn't you? Surely you could find a little time for Kara. Just one cake. It would mean the world to her, she urged softly. Emma's expression stayed calm, her voice gentle but resolute. I understand, Megan. I know you want Kara to be happy, and I really appreciate that you admire my work. But I have to be honest with you, this week has been completely consumed by preparing for Lily's birthday. I have work tasks and personal responsibilities that cannot wait. I cannot take on this request. The tension hung briefly in the air. Megan's smile faltered, revealing the trace of frustration beneath her polite demeanor. Yet Emma did not flinch, standing her ground with quiet confidence. She could feel the eyes of some nearby parents observing the exchange, but she focused solely on remaining respectful yet firm. At that precise moment, Lily, full of excitement, ran over and grabbed her mother's hands. Come on, Mommy. Let's take pictures, she exclaimed, tugging Emma toward the center of the room. Other parents quickly gathered, cameras and phones raised. Eager to capture Lily posing with her Rapunzel cake, Emma allowed herself a small, relieved smile as she looked down at her daughter. I'm so sorry, Megan. I really need to take pictures with Lily and her friends right now, she said politely. Nodding slightly, Megan gave a polite nod, forcing her smile back into place, though her gaze lingered on the cake for a heartbeat longer. Then, with a small sigh, she turned away, leaving Emma to be swept into the cheerful chaos of the birthday celebration. As Emma knelt beside Lily, helping her arrange her little friends for photos, she felt a sense of calm reassurance. Despite the brief tension, she knew she had maintained her boundaries. the joy radiating from Lily, the laughter of the children, and the light-hearted chatter of parents reminded Emma why she had spent so many long hours perfecting the cake and preparing the party. She had chosen her priorities, and for this day, they were right where they should be, with her daughter, even as Megan drifted to mingle with other parents. Emma felt a flicker of unease, knowing the request might resurface in the future. But for now, she allowed herself to focus fully on the laughter and delight surrounding her, savoring the precious moments that would stay etched in both her memory and the Lily's. Emma's eyes lingered on her daughter's bright smile, and she realized that protecting her own time and energy did not diminish her love. If anything, it made her presence for Lily even more meaningful. The celebrations for Lily's birthday had finally drawn to a close. The last of the children were hugging their parents goodbye, their laughter echoing faintly in the now quiet house. Emma lingered behind, carefully gathering stray balloons and streamers, folding the tablecloths with precise folds, and putting leftover treats and gifts into neat boxes. She glanced around the room, now transformed from a scene of chaotic festivity to a quiet sanctuary, the lingering scent of sugar and vanilla mingling with the faint aroma of freshly cut flowers. For a brief moment, Emma allowed herself to bask in the satisfaction of a job well done. Her eyes wandered to Lily, who was still buzzing with excitement, showing a friend how she had blown out the candles and describing the Rapunzel cake in meticulous detail. Emma's heart swelled. Every hour spent measuring, mixing, and decorating had been worth it to see her daughter's joy. The following afternoon, Emma waited at the school gate, watching children spill out into the playground. The memory of yesterday's laughter was still vivid, a warm glow that lingered inside her. She was adjusting Lily's backpack when she noticed Megan walking briskly toward her, Cara trailing at her side. Megan's eyes locked onto Emma immediately, her gaze sharp yet polite, exuding a strange mixture of admiration and intent. Even from a distance, Emma could tell that Megan's mind was already turning, calculating how to press her case. Megan's eyes flicked briefly to Emma's face, then instinctively to the memory of the cake that had dominated yesterday's party, Rapunzel tower so perfectly crafted it seemed alive. "Hi, Emma. Honestly, Lily's party yesterday was absolutely wonderful. That cake, that Rapunzel cake. Oh my goodness, Cara would absolutely flip if she saw it," Megan said. Her voice was warm, seemingly casual, but her eyes betrayed a sharp, persistent undertone of determination that Emma immediately recognized. Emma smiled politely, keeping her posture straight, her tone calm. "Thank you, Megan. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the party." Lily had a wonderful time. Megan stepped closer, subtly, narrowing the distance. Her tone softened, almost coaxing, yet it carried an undeniable edge of insistence. "Emma, I just can't stop thinking about Cara. Her birthday's coming up next month. Could you possibly make her a cake like this?" Emma drew in a deep, steadying breath, her mind racing through the week's commitments and unfinished tasks at home. She met Megan's gaze evenly, her voice firm but gentle. "Megan, I really can't. I'm sorry." Megan's eyes narrowed fractionally, a hint of disbelief flickering. She tilted her head, almost pleading, her voice rising just a touch. "But, Emma, you made one for Lily. Surely you can find a little time for Cara, just one cake. It wouldn't take long at all. She would be so happy." Emma remained still, her resolve unwavering. "I understand that you want Cara to be happy," she said evenly, "but I simply cannot take on another cake right now." I've dedicated nearly all my time this week to preparing for Lily's birthday. There's still a lot I need to handle at home, and I cannot postpone it. I cannot commit to making another cake." Megan's lips pressed into a thin line. Her expression hardened, her eyes flashing with a mix of frustration and stubborn determination. "Just one cake," she repeated, her voice now sharper, tinged with pressure. "You've already done it once. Can't you do it again? For Kara?" Emma's gaze did not waver. Her tone remained steady, controlled, exuding quiet authority. "Megan, I know you want to make your child happy, but I have to protect my own time and energy, just as I dedicate my energy to Lily. I cannot compromise that. If you need, I can recommend a few excellent bakeries that can create a beautiful cake for Kara." Megan's face flushed slightly, her hands tightening at her sides. She opened her mouth as if to argue further, but Emma's calm assertiveness seemed to momentarily stall her. Her voice rose, slightly tinged with indignation. "Emma, just one cake. It wouldn't hurt. Why are you making this so difficult?" At that moment, Lily came running over, her small hand slipping into Emma's. "Mum, let's go." Emma looked down at her daughter, her voice calm but firm, carrying the weight of her decision. "Megan, I'm sorry. We need to go now." She grasped Lily's hand gently, guiding her away before Megan could interject. Megan stood frozen, her shoulders stiff, a mix of frustration and disbelief shadowing her features. She opened her mouth as if to continue pressing her point, but the sight of Emma walking briskly with Lily left her speechless. Her eyes lingered on them, burning with stubborn insistence, but there was nothing more she could do in that moment. Once Emma returned home, the digital onslaught began. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with messages from Megan. Initially, they were compliments, praising Emma's skill. "That cake was incredible. I can't believe the detail carer would be ecstatic." But soon the tone shifted, each message increasingly insistent, tinged with blame and accusation. "How can you say no? You're ruining Kara's birthday. I can't understand why you're being selfish. Do you not care about making children happy?" Emma read each message carefully, a twinge of irritation and stress rising in her chest, but her composure did not falter. She responded methodically, each reply calm and reasoned. "I appreciate your admiration, Megan. I cannot make another cake this week due to prior commitments. I can recommend some bakeries that could create a wonderful cake for Kara." Yet Megan's persistence was relentless. More messages followed. "You're being so selfish. Kara deserves this. Why won't you consider just a little effort for a child's happiness? I thought you were kind, but you clearly don't care." Emma's hands tightened around her phone briefly, her chest constricting, but she drew in a steadying breath. "I cannot let her insistence violate my boundaries. I've given my all to Lily, and that is what matters." Over the next several days, Megan's messages continued sporadically. Eventually, Emma blocked her number, refusing to be drawn further into the conflict. Still, she occasionally heard whispers from other parents who had crossed paths with Megan, catching snippets of gossip or disparaging remarks. Emma chose to ignore them, reminding herself that she had acted with integrity, kindness, and unwavering firmness in this confrontation. Emma realized a crucial truth. Setting boundaries did not make her uncaring or selfish. It was an act of protecting her time, her energy, and her priorities. She had honored her commitment to her daughter, preserved her peace of mind, and handled another adult's stubbornness with grace and composure. The excitement of Lily's birthday had finally settled into a quiet calm. The house, once filled with laughter, singing, and the scent of freshly baked cake, now lay scattered with the aftermath, deflated balloons sagging against the walls, ribbons tangled across the furniture, and scraps of wrapping paper strewn across the floor. For most people, the party's end would mark relief and rest, but for Emma, the end of the celebration brought a lingering, uneasy tension. Even after putting Lily to bed, Emma couldn't fully relax. Her phone kept buzzing, the screen lighting up with Megan's name. Each message carried the same undertone: expectation, pressure, subtle manipulation. Emma could feel a tightening in her chest every time she picked up her phone. Megan's words, though sometimes polite, were persistent, insistent, and almost impossible to ignore. It was as if saying no once had not sufficed. Megan expected Emma to bend her will for the sake of her daughter's happiness. The first message had been deceptively casual, almost complimentary. It read, "Emma, you did such a wonderful job with Lily's cake. I'm sure Kara would love one just like it. It would mean so much." But the follow-ups grew increasingly demanding. "Are you sure you can't make just one more cake? Kara would be overjoyed. We'll pay for your time. It doesn't have to be complicated." And then, veiled accusations began to creep in. "I don't understand why you won't do this. It's just a small favor. Surely you can spare a few hours." Emma read each text carefully, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She felt the fatigue of emotional labor, a pressure that weighed heavier than any physical exhaustion. Yet despite the barrage, she remained resolute. She drafted careful, polite replies, explaining the reality of her schedule, emphasizing the work and love she had already poured into Lily's birthday, and suggesting reputable bakeries that could assist Megan. Every response was calm, composed, deliberate. It was exhausting, and sometimes Emma doubted herself. Late at night, she would sit on the couch, Lily asleep upstairs, and wonder if she had been too rigid. Did saying no make her selfish? Would Kara feel hurt, disappointed, or unloved? Would other parents judge her as cold or unkind? But then she remembered the look on Lily's face the day before, the wide-eyed joy, the pure excitement at seeing the towering Rapunzel cake, the way her daughter hugged her tightly, radiating gratitude and love. That memory anchored her. Emma realized that protecting her time and energy was not only reasonable, it was necessary to continue giving love and attention fully where it mattered most. Support came from family and friends, reinforcing her conviction. Her husband spoke words that soothed her lingering doubts, reminding her that Lily's happiness and well-being were what truly mattered. She had gone above and beyond for her daughter, and nobody else had the right to demand more. Close friends sent messages of encouragement, that it was okay to set boundaries, that saying no was not a failure, and that personal limits were a sign of strength, not weakness. They reminded Emma that she was not alone, that she had allies who understood and respected her choices. Despite this, the world outside her home had its own opinions. Some parents and colleagues whispered critiques. A few admired her for standing firm, for protecting her personal limits, and for demonstrating courage. Others criticized her as unfeeling, overly rigid, or unsympathetic to the desires of another child. Emma heard snippets of conversation here and there, but she did not engage. She learned that while recognition was gratifying, it was not the point. What mattered was acting with integrity and love toward those she could protect. In the days following the party, Emma immersed herself fully in her relationship with Lily. They played games, read stories, and shared small daily moments that were, in their own way, magical. Emma took time to notice the little things, the way Lily's laughter rang through the house, the sparkle in her eyes when recounting stories from the party, the way she proudly showed off the decorations and the cake to her friends. Each moment reaffirmed Emma's belief that her efforts, though unseen by some, were meaningful and impactful. The cake itself, the centerpiece of the celebration, was more than dessert, was a labor of love, a manifestation of patience, skill, and devotion. Every swirl of frosting, every carefully piped flower, and every towering detail symbolized Emma's commitment to her daughter. Emma also reflected on what it meant to set boundaries. Saying no was not rejection or cruelty, was a necessary practice of self-respect. By declining Megan's requests, she was preserving her energy, her time, and her ability to give fully to her own child. Emma realized that boundaries were not walls built to shut people out. They were the framework that allowed love and care to thrive sustainably. In her mind, the lesson crystallized. Protecting one's limits is a vital act of care, both for oneself and for the people who truly depend on us. The days that followed were calmer. Megan continued to gossip and complain to others, but Emma no longer allowed it to disturb her. She focused on Lily, embracing each precious moment. Playtime, bedtime stories, walks in the park, even quiet moments, sitting together in the living room, they were all reminders that the energy she invested in her daughter was worthwhile. Emma saw in Lily's laughter and in her delighted recounting of the birthday party that love, patience, and devotion mattered more than appeasing outside demands. By the end of that week, Emma had drawn a clear and profound conclusion. Saying no is not selfish. It is an act of courage, a commitment to self-respect, and a vital component of maintaining balance and well-being. Even under pressure, even when faced with gossip or criticism, Emma's resolve remained firm. Her priority was her daughter, and she had chosen wisely, protecting both her child and herself. Every piece of that birthday, the cake, the decorations, the preparation, and the celebration stood as a testament to a mother's love, resilience, and dedication as Emma watched Lily play with friends in the backyard, their laughter mingling with the soft breeze. She felt a deep sense of peace and satisfaction. The Rapunzel cake had been more than just a dessert. It had been a symbol of everything Emma stood for: love, attention to detail, dedication, and unwavering commitment to what mattered most. She realized that protecting her boundaries did not diminish her generosity, amplified it. Through this experience, Emma had learned not only to say no when necessary, but also to recognize the value of her own time, energy, and love. Every choice, every effort, every careful moment had contributed to a lasting memory that would stay with Lily forever. Emma smiled, her heart full, knowing that while others might not understand her decisions, she had done the right thing. She had honored herself, her child, and the principle that love does not mean giving up one's own needs. The laughter of Lily echoed in the house, a perfect counterpoint to the stress and tension of the past week, and in that moment, Emma knew with certainty that she had acted with integrity, compassion, and wisdom. She had balanced love with self-respect, and that balance, she realized, was the true gift she could give her daughter and herself. Emma sat on the living room couch, watching Lily unwrap her new toys, her small hands moving eagerly, her eyes sparkling with delight. The sound of her laughter filled the room, mingling with the faint scent of leftover birthday cake and the soft rustle of wrapping paper on the floor. In that moment, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. Every hour spent preparing decorations, every meticulous swirl of frosting on the Rapunzel cake, every careful placement of balloons and ribbons had been worth it. Her daughter's joy, pure and unfiltered, was the most precious reward she could imagine, even as she basked in the quiet happiness of the post-party calm. Her mind briefly flickered back to Megan's persistent messages. They had continued even after the party, sometimes demanding, sometimes passive-aggressive, but always insistent. "Megan, Emma, you made Lily's cake so beautifully. Surely one more cake for Cara won't take long. She'll be thrilled. Megan, are you really saying no? Just one small cake? Please, Emma. Megan, I can pay for your time. You've already done it once. This will be easy, won't it?" Emma had read each one carefully, felt the pressure, and yet maintained her composure. She replied calmly, gently explaining that her time and energy had already been devoted to Lily's birthday, preparations, and suggesting local bakeries that could help, even after blocking Megan to protect her peace. Emma knew the gossip would continue, but she also knew she had made the right choice. Turning her attention back to Lily, Emma reflected on the lesson this experience had taught her. Saying no is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect and a necessary step to protect what truly matters. She realized that her boundaries did not weaken her love, they strengthened it, allowing her to give fully to her daughter without being drained or resentful. Emma smiled at Lily, noticing the way her daughter's eyes lit up with every new discovery, every playful giggle, every delighted exclamation. She thought about the story of the Rapunzel cake, the preparation, the attention to detail, and how all of it had culminated in this perfect moment of joy. She understood that the value of her efforts was measured not by others' expectations, but by the happiness, love, and memories she created with Lily, to her audience, whether online or friends. Listening to her story, Emma wanted to ask a few thought-provoking questions. Do you think Emma was wrong to refuse making a cake for Cara? If you were in a similar situation, how would you handle it? Could you remain firm in your boundaries if someone applied constant pressure like Megan did? Her story was a reminder that the power to say no is a strength, not a flaw. Protecting oneself, one's time, and one's energy does not mean a lack of kindness. It means being able to love fully and sustainably. If you enjoyed hearing about Emma and Lily's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming, dramatic, and thought-provoking stories. Every story is a chance to reflect on boundaries, courage, and the small moments that truly matter in life.